Now, friends, I will connect this part to the texture section based on the most common errors we've encountered. The most common error we encounter is this, friends. I'm rendering in Vray, but my image looks very dull. Look, you won't experience this much in other rendering engines. From where? Because in other render engines, the reflection parameter in the texture sections comes in at 50% automatically, friends. For example, in Inkscape, D5, and TV Motion, when you apply it, there is automatically a reflection and glare on the surfaces. You won't see much dullness in those, but in Vray Render, as you can see on the screen, there is a slight dullness. That dullness is due to the reflection and glare parameters not being set adequately on the textures, friends. And while doing this, we need to set the reflection and glare parameters for the textures. From our texture section, when we select the part on the ground with the droplet tool, when we activate the texture, we can click on the asset editor here and see the settings for this texture. As you can see, normally, the reflection rectus section is set at 0.5, a reflection at a 50% ratio. When I pull this down, as you can see, my reflection has increased significantly. Friends, we will also use these in the texture section, but normally, you can manually adjust the reflection parameter to this value with such a process. So, if you want it to be very fast, automatically, you can give a reflection to such an object. In the reflection section, give a texture to all these parts, even if it's just 50%. Like on the ceiling, for example, apply a 50% texture to this white surface. There is an important criterion here. Look, it says Edit in Vray. Normally, when I select a texture, friends, I need to click on the Edit in Vray section to see the settings of the texture. Look, I clicked on the Edit in Vray section. My settings have arrived. My reflection setting is my reflection section. What I want to tell you is this, friends. The glossiness section should create a reflection parameter of at least 0.5 at a 50% ratio. And normally pure white, be careful to use that part. So it shouldn't be pure white. Look, it's not pure white here. Normally, even when you use white, you can adjust it from here. Look, normally a value of 0 means it would be pure white when I go here, but when I slightly tint it, this would be slightly tinted due to absorbing a bit of white light. It needs to absorb light. So too much black, pure black, is not a technique used in rendering engines. Friends, it's a wrong technique because you can't intervene in explosions. Light explosions make it a bit difficult to intervene within the engine, meaning in the rendering engine. So a slight tint is enough. Normally, giving a glossiness of 0.5 to colors makes a lot of sense. Because light bouncing off surfaces happens naturally, it's important to illuminate the environment, friends. So I wanted to take a break from the topic and address this. When we do this with doors, we will get a result that is not matte, but more vibrant and more controlled. Friends, I'm going to take a render of this part by pressing the render engine again. So I'm marking this part by holding it from here, and I will wait for it to render by pressing the render button. Friends, as you can see on the render screen, friends, the parts where I added reflections look more vibrant. Because adding reflections to these parts makes it a more effective section. It allows me to take a render. There are those little dots you see over there. Light document. Relevant, friends. It's about the quality of the light. It's because we didn't increase that quality in the render section exactly. That's why there are these little details. They will completely go away when we increase the detail and quality inside. Right now, there's such a fine detail in the reflection part. I wanted to say these things. In the other part, we will continue rendering with the detailed lights inside.